Somewhere in the mountains of Persia, in a castle carved into stone, a man sat, and with a word, a single word, kings fell. He never needed an army. He never needed a throne. What he built was something far more dangerous. He built a system of loyalty so absolute that his followers would walk into death smiling. This is the story of the Hashshashin, the original assassins, and the secrets they left behind that history still can't fully explain. The year is 1090. The Islamic world is fracturing. The Seljuk Sultanate controls everything, from Persia to Anatolia. And in the middle of this chaos, one man sees an opportunity. His name was Hassan-i Sabbah, a scholar, a theologian, a man so brilliant that his own teachers feared him. He had studied mathematics, astronomy, and Ismaili theology, and he believed, with absolute certainty, that the rulers of his time were corrupt, that the true Imam of Islam had been stolen from his rightful place. So he did something no one expected. He didn't raise an army, he took a castle. In 1090, Hassan seized the mountain fortress of Alamut, which translates, depending on who you ask, as either Eagle's Nest or the Teaching of the Eagle. From that single castle, he would build a shadow state, a network of fortresses, spies, and operatives that stretched across the Islamic world. And he would control it all, from a room he almost never left. For 35 years, Hassan-i Sabbah is said to have never left Alamut. He ran an empire from a single room, sending orders, sending men, sending messages that kings couldn't ignore. Now, here's where the story gets complicated. Marco Polo, the famous Venetian traveler, visited Persia decades after Alamut had already fallen, and he told a story. He said that Hassan had built a secret garden behind the castle walls, a garden of unimaginable beauty, with rivers of wine, honey, and milk, with music, with fountains, with everything a young man could dream of. And the recruits? They were drugged, put to sleep, carried into the garden, and when they woke, they were told they had seen paradise. Then they were taken out again, put back to sleep, and told the only way to return was to obey. It's a perfect story, almost too perfect, because Marco Polo arrived decades after Alamut was destroyed. He never met a single assassin. He was repeating stories that were already circulating, stories that came from the enemies of the Ismailis, from Sunni caliphs, from Crusader knights, from people who had every reason to paint the Hashshashin as something monstrous. Modern historians largely reject this story, but here's what's more interesting than the story itself. Why did it spread so fast? Why did so many people want to believe it? Because the assassins were terrifying, and no one could explain why. They needed a reason. Drugs felt like a reason. The real weapon of the Hashshashin wasn't poison. It wasn't a blade. It was something far more sophisticated. It was psychology. The assassins didn't kill randomly. Every target was chosen. Every killing was a message. And they had a rule, one that made them more terrifying than any army. They killed in public. Not in the dark, not with poison slipped into a cup. They walked into mosques, into throne rooms, into Friday prayers, and they struck in front of witnesses. Because the killing wasn't just the point. The fear that followed was the point. Saladin, the greatest military commander of his era, survived 2 assassination attempts, and after the second one, he found something on his pillow. A dagger and a note. The message was clear. We could have killed you in your sleep. We chose not to, this time. Saladin made peace with them shortly after. For nearly 200 years, the Hashshashin operated across 2 continents. They had branches in Syria, led by a man named Rashid ad-Din Sinan, known to the Crusaders simply as the Old Man of the Mountain. The Crusaders both feared them and, according to some historians, may have hired them. The lines between enemy, ally, and contractor blurred in ways that medieval sources still can't fully untangle. Who were they really working for? The question still doesn't have a clean answer. In 1256, the Mongols came. Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, marched his army toward Alamut with one purpose: erase it. The last Grand Master of the Assassins surrendered without a fight, and the Mongols did what conquerors always do to things they fear. They burned the library. Alamut held one of the greatest collections of knowledge in the medieval Islamic world: astronomy, philosophy, secret doctrines, correspondence spanning 166 years of operations. All of it gone. And this is perhaps the greatest mystery of all, because almost everything we know about the Hashshashin comes from their enemies, from the people who destroyed them. There is almost no surviving document written by the assassins themselves. We are reading their story through the eyes of those who hated them, which means we might have everything wrong. The Hashshashin fell, but the Ismaili Imamate, the religious lineage Hassan gave his life to protect, never actually ended. It survived, it adapted, and the Imam of the Nizari Ismailis exists to this day. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If the library hadn't burned, if we could read their own words, their own version of this story, who do you think we would find? Fanatics? Scholars? Revolutionaries? Or something we don't even have a name for yet? This has been Mystery Chronicles Archive. The archive never closes.